Okay, so we've transferred the template and we have a nice set of areas here to work with our transfers. So the first thing I'm going to do is I think I'm going to do the orange and blue variation, right? So we're going to practice all three primary with their complements. Okay, we're using a limited palette. Okay, so my first color that I'm going to go for is the orange. I'm going to lay down some fresh yellow, okay, and some red there, which is ready to go. And the first thing I want to do is I want to wet the surface of the area, right? So, oops, there's a little bit of, we have our paper towels ready, okay, and I'm going to wet the area nicely so that it receives the color smoothly. Okay. So I got a nice layer of water there, and now I'm going to mix up some orange, right? The orange is going to represent the hot color, right? The energy, the light energy, right? And I'm going to lay down a nice even area, okay, across the whole image here. Right? It's important to mix up enough color, right, to get quick results, even results. Okay, and you want to have enough value there to hold up to the cool color and to project that light energy nicely. And so at this point, we're going to dry the color, dry it, the surface. Okay, so the area is nice and dry. I mean, it's not 100% dry, but it's pretty close to being totally dry, right? And so what I want to do is I want to clear my palette of the orange, right? And we're going to lay out a pool of blue, okay? And we want to make sure we're working with pure color. Okay, keep the brushes clean. Okay, and so let's get some blue going. And remember, we're going to work light to dark. We don't want to overcommit the values again, okay? So I'm going to first start with a light layer of blue, and I'm going to remember that the template shows us, right? I'm following the values of the template, so it's not too dark up there. And I'm going to cut the shape of the sphere nicely. Nice and easy, and I'm not overworking it, right? Rubbing it 100 times. I'm just gliding the brush over the surface, okay? And I'm including the shadow area because it still falls within this value, right? And I'm going to just kind of extend it and nice and light to the front, right? Okay, so I'll dry this again a little bit. Okay. Again, we're going to refer to the template so it can get a little darker up there. Okay. So I'm going to add another layer of blue here. And remembering that the darkest area is underneath the sphere, so we're going to just, whoa. Cutting the shape of the object nicely. Okay. And all these imperfections and so forth, so-called imperfections that's inherent to the watercolor. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to use the round brush, right? I'm going to, again, dry the surface. Okay. I'm going to keep working with the blue, right? The light energy of the orange is still present there. So now I'm going to introduce the color into the object. The first thing I want to do is to put the first layer of color onto the, and notice how I'm working from light to dark. It's nice and light right now. Maybe not dark enough. I'm going to put the first layer of color, and so that's where the pure, bright primary color is going to be, right? So I have to start that whole area where the transition is. So I need to start light, right? So I'm going to, right about there. Okay. And I'm going to soften the edge there a little bit with the water. Okay. I'm going to put in the next darker layer here. You can see the object starting to appear. Okay. We can just coax that a little bit. Oops. The orange is starting to break out underneath there. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to put in the shadow core. Okay, another layer of blue underneath. Might want to dry it a little bit. And put a darker value of blue underneath there to reinforce the object. Right? And so here you can see the role of color, blue being in the shadow area. Cool. The shadow core here. And so there you have, with all the little imperfections and so forth, that's a watercolor. Okay, and now we can just kind of re-emphasize the values a little bit, go back and maybe punch them up a little bit, especially in the back here. That value supports the light energy. Okay. Dry it a little bit more. Take a little dark blue with the orange. Makes a achromatic gray. And put it in underneath there. As that last dark value, right? That's underneath the sphere there, okay? And so we're gonna repeat this. I'm using all the other colors, yellow and violet, red and green, and then black and white. And we're not going to use white paint, we're going to use the white of the page. Okay, so the next color we're going to do is we're going to work with red as being the light energy and the green as the cool color, right? So I've gotten clean water again, okay? And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the area that I'm going to paint within so the color goes down nice and easy. And I'm going to be putting down a layer of red first, right? So here we go, right? Okay. Nice and even layer of water. Right, and we do this so that the paper receives the pigment easily, okay, smoothly, okay, and softly. So red is our light energy, okay, red. So I'm going to make sure I have a nice pool of red developed. Bring some water in here, and I want it to be strong so that it holds up during the painting. Okay, so picking up some red, I'm going to lay it down here. Takes quite a bit of color to establish that. And notice I'm not laboring over it. I'm just like laying it down. I have a generous amount of red on my palette. Okay. And just making sure I have enough that pigment laying on there. Okay. I'll just go over it, and I'm just gliding the brush. Gliding the brush. Okay, and I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to dry it. Even area of red, and I'm going to implement my cool color, my cool complementary color. And by the way, going back to this one, you see how nicely the orange with the blue works, and it creates an atmosphere of color and light. Okay, so I cleaned up my palette. Took all the red off of there, off the area, right? And so now I'm going to put in my first layer of green. So I'm going to mix my green, okay? All right, so the green is secondary color, right? So yellow and blue makes the green, right? And I want to have a nice strong green, so as to have the proper impact support, right? So, and I want to have plenty of the green ready to go, right? And obviously, the more blue the green has in it, the stronger the green gets. Okay, so I'm going to start with a fairly light green. Remember, we always work light to dark, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the object, right? And I'm looking at my template, right? It's darker at the top. I'm going to include the shadow, right? Because it falls within the and nice and light down to the front. Okay, so there's my first layer. I've harnessed the object, and I'm going to dry it. Okay, and I've noticed that my red is a little bit dull when you're putting it down. The color kind of dries back, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to take some red, okay, and it's not so much cheating, but I've identified a little bit of could become an issue. I'm going to lay down a nice strong red there, right? That will help carry the image. Okay. Okay, dry that. Okay, so now I'm going to lay down the next layer of color. Use my round brush. Okay. I think I'm going to use the medium-sized round brush. Okay. I want to make sure it's nice and clean. I'm going to work with the green. I'm going to make sure there's enough blue in that green, right? And I'm going to put down the first layer, right? Right, so I've identified the transition layer. Okay. And it includes the shadow area. And the green is, and you can still see the template under there, so I'm following the shape, right? And the green is playing the role of cool color, complementary color. Just going to soften that edge a little bit by just taking a little bit of water and softening it. Okay, nice, right? I'm going to dry this a little more. Okay, I'm going to put in the next layer of values, always getting light to dark, so I'm picking up a slightly darker green, right? I'm going to put in this shadow core, right? I want to soften it. Okay, soften it. Okay. Hit the shadow area again with the green. And I can move away from the edge so that this edge appears soft. It's sharper here and softer there. Okay. And the less you play with it, the better, right? Swiftly put in those values. Okay. I can hit the shadow core here again while it's still a little wet. Okay. And then I can dry it a little bit. Okay, and my values came out a little dark on the core there. Okay, we live and learn. And so now I'm going to pick up a really dark green and I'm going to put it in underneath. Right. As the darkest area. Okay. supports the object nicely. Okay, and I'm going to just adjust this value up here a little bit, make it a little darker so there's a little more contrast there to support the light. So I'm going to take some green again, and I'm going to just glide it on there. Okay. You see how I'm being very delicate with this, not to make any holes in it. Okay, very good. Pretty happy with that. And there you go. So you can see how the light energy, the red plays the light energy, right? And how the cool color harnesses that, okay? And that underlying shadow area, we could punch it up even more by taking some green, adding just a teeny bit of red to it. Makes the green even more achromatic. Okay, and that can be laid under there. Right. Okay, we can dry this. Okay. Okay, so there's our red and green composition.